We are here in studio this evening, joined by the Chairman of the Commission for Revenue Allocation, Dr. Micah Chesrem. Thank you very much for coming to our studios. And of course, Kamodo Waiganja from the Commission on the Implementation of the New Constitution. Now, gentlemen, are we going to have devolution or not? Kamodo?
Yes, we will have devolution. I think there is no question that the Constitution requires that as of March next year, that we will have counter governments. I think the question for us is how effective will the transition be, and how effective will the counties be? And I think a lot of that depends on the steps that we take now. The institutional mechanisms are in place, the transition authority is in place, but there are activities that we can carry out now and some that we are undertaking now that could compromise the effective implementation
but it's interesting you say that, because it should be so clear. Chapter 11 of the Constitution and a plethora of other provisions really suggest that devolution is one of the key pillars that underpin the new Constitution. Bwana Chairman, what is the problem? Who is trying to subvert devolution in the country?
I think subvert is the wrong word, but clearly devolution is saying that there will be, for 7 county governments, power will be decentralized. The people at the center are reluctant to decentralize. And specifically...
That's subverting, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, but if subversion is a bit strong. But basically, those at the very center who are supposed to release power. Which ministries are these? The big ones, Minister of Agriculture. They're supposed to devolve almost except to remain with policy. Minister of Health are supposed to devolve except 2 referral hospitals, Kenyatta hospitals and Moi referral. But as we have already told you in the statement, they are after bills from Minister of Agriculture.
Where do we turn to? Because, I mean, we have 3 constitutional commissions coming out there and saying, hey, someone somewhere is trying to sabotage basically what the Constitution so clearly provides for. Where do we turn, Kamodo? Where do we get our solution? Kenyans watching at home tonight, where can they get their hope from?
Joe, the responsibility is on every institution to respect and abide by the Constitution. Every single one of those members of Parliament, cabinet ministers, took an oath to defend and protect the Constitution. The reason we say this is there's been many discussions with the executive, with Parliament on this trend. The reason we are coming out in the open is to tell the people of Kenya there is a problem and that they themselves need to carry out a responsibility. We ourselves as commissions are consulting as to where we go from here. Because remember that the responsibilities of governance don't end with Parliament or with the executive. The other institutions, we as constitutional commissions play a role. But I think what we want to say is that we hope that as we raise this statement, that people will be able to come together and agree that we all have a stake in ensuring that Kenyans' investment in devolved government becomes a reality. And I think it's important that Kenyans are aware of these challenges, even as we work at all manner of levels to ensure that this crisis does not blow up. Because, Joe, I can tell you, if we continue with this trend until the 5th of March, what we are going to have is numerous litigations between the county governments and the national government. We're going to have a conflict in terms of mandates and functions. We're going to have wastage in terms of duplication of roles, and that is unacceptable in a country that is
hasn't it been systematic? A lot of people would say that there are many things, telltale signs that we could see. There was, for instance, the appointment of county commissioners. A lot of people said, well, where is that in the law? And up to now, the court made a ruling, but they are still in office every day. We see them even in our news. What's really going on? Would you say that there are people in the central government that seem to be going out of their way to make sure this doesn't happen, Bwana Chairman? Are you worried?
We are very worried because, as he's already told you, we agreed with the executive a process. Remember, we are not a creation of ourselves. CIC, CRA in the Constitution says any bill that affects a county government, the CRA input must be sought. It says in the Constitution. And we're supposed to sit with CIC and with Transition Authority. So the Minister of Health wrote these bills. For example, I'll give you a very simple example, where they created, say, 21 provincial hospitals, district hospitals, 21 of them will now be referral hospitals. They will not be managed from...
And this is a hospital that should have been managed by county government.
Of course. When the law came into force, the Constitution, there are only 2 referral hospitals, Kenyatta Hospital and Moi referral. But last week, Minister of Health says we have upgraded provincial hospitals and a few district hospitals into referral, 21 of them. And they'll be managed from the center. That is very suspicious. What did they do? They took it to the cabinet. It's supposed to go to cabinet, then come out, it goes to the commissions, and then public participation. We're supposed to go out and ask the public, do you like the new arrangement? We are told the bill is already in parliament. If you go to parliament, Joe, there are less than 30 members of parliament sitting there.
Well, Bwana Chairman, they're going to pass them because they are there. They have, I think, about 5-6 days to work. But what can we do other than raising the alarm here?
We have raised the alarm.
These very powerful commissions do.
He has told you, Mr. Kamoto, we have raised the alarm. By tonight, letters will have been written to the President, the Prime Minister, the Speaker of Parliament, the Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee. So we are telling everybody, because when the county government come, they expect these hospitals. Let me give you a case of, say, Kakamega Provincial Hospital. At the moment, the governor was expecting to come and run that hospital. But when they come into force on 5th March, they'll be told, this Kakamega Provincial Hospital is now not yours. It's being to be run by an agency from Nairobi. It gets worse. The bills from Ministry of Health say all medicines will be bought centrally. And Waikanjo was saying, it makes sense to buy central.
But that's shocking, Waikanjo, because those health and agriculture, from what I understand, are the two main issues that have been devolved to the counties, isn't it?
In fact, Joe, our position is that, for example, the concept of buying medicine centrally may very well be a great idea. And I don't think anybody is fighting with the concept of economies of scale. It is only that it is not the business of central government to make that decision. That responsibility has been given to the county governments. When they sit together, KEMSA, which we are willing to accept as a transitional mechanism, can make the case to the governors and let them make that decision. Because, Joe, this is the danger. When the governor of Ageyo Marakwet comes into office, he can choose to ignore that mechanism. Who is going to pay for the cost of setting up that establishment we are calling the KEMSA authority? It means that what is going to happen ultimately is to have a multiplicity of institutions which have no role, but which have tax implications. They have expenditure implications on the country. And then we have problems in terms of conflicts of mandate. So what we are saying is, what is a rush? These institutions are not being wound down. Let them continue as transitional mechanisms. Do not change them. When the new governments come into place, they are intergovernmental mechanisms which are established by law. These issues can be discussed at that level. And if
so what do they fear in your estimation?
I think part of it is just the continuation of control. I think part of the problem, Joe, is that we have not made the distinction between decentralization and devolution. For many people in central government, they assume that what will happen is just decentralizing services. The reality is that what you are doing is devolving, which means you are releasing that responsibility and function completely. You're not managing it from the top. And that is a reality that many people must internalize. Is that
happening with the provincial administration thing?
Now, by the way, on the question of provincial administration, there is a bill. And the bill again says that the responsibility of the provincial administration is to exist only to the extent that it is necessary for the national government to carry out its functions. So that if the national government has no functions, then there's no need for a provincial administration. If the national government has functions, then you need to ensure that the officers you're employing for that responsibilities are only those that are necessary to carry out the national government function. Joe, we must be very careful that we do not continue to duplicate. Because remember, every duplication of function is a cost to the taxpayer.
Okay, we are going to bring this to an end shortly, but I cannot leave you gentlemen go without talking about the recent ruling on this gender question, because that also falls squarely, especially in your docket, but I'm sure you will have some views about it. It's a critical issue in our country right now.
The gender issue. I don't know what Waikanjo will have to say, but for me as a person, if as a commission, it's very sad that Kenya, which has a very good constitution, which says that we are going to give women 1/3. 1/3 to me is immediate. The progressive one is the 50%. But I want to say here now, that gender rule only applies, the ruling was for Parliament and Senate. The county governments, the county assemblies, we must still have 1/3. There's an article 177. So that one is not...
All right. So it doesn't cover the counties. Kamodo Waiganja, very quickly, your thoughts on that ruling?
The reality is that the court has spoken, and we need to respect the rule of the Supreme Court. But Kenyans must not assume that the gender question is closed, because they must remember that if they do not elect sufficient women for the county assemblies, those women will be nominated. And that actually is where the challenge is going to be. So Kenyans must realize, both through their political parties and through the election system, that if they don't, there will be a huge cost to pay, because the women will still be nominated. So it's to say, let us respect the court ruling, but let's remember that that issue is not closed, and it needs that responsibility of ensuring that we have gender equity is also on the voter. So that voters must now assume that we have been told by the court not to elect women. Let us try and elect capable, competent women to still fill the gender gap.
Thank you very much, Kamodo Waiganjo. Concluding this discussion that we've been having here, of course, we were also with Micah Chesrem, the chairman of the Commission for Revenue Allocation, discussing the critical questions that are arising that they believe could actually subvert one of the key pillars of the new constitution, that is devolution. But